Oh, hello, yes. Well, good grief. The Sarah Pochin, is she a racist argument carries on. Yeah, she is. But it's worthwhile diving a bit more into, well, more of the things rather than the adverts that she was talking about. But just to remind you about why this was a bad look, let's look at that particular segment of the half hour she was given.
Okay, let me bring in a couple more callers. Let's start with Stuart in London. Stuart, what would you like to ask Sarah Pochin?
Yeah, good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Peter.
Morning.
A bit left field, this one, but I think it's creepingly important. Would Reform do anything to look at the representation of the demographics of TV and public advertising? Because we're getting to the point now where adverts don't represent what this country looks like, and actually positive demonisation of white people, just portrayed as criminals or inadequate when they're not portrayed anywhere else. Now, the reason why this is important, we got a case of art imitates life, because we're getting to the point where a number of my friends think that we're being discriminated like in employment markets because white men are seen as useless and whatever and just invisible. And there's one financial institution which coincidentally uses a strikingly similar image of Nigel in their advertising for an incompetent, useless, arrogant white male. I just wondered if that's something Reform would look into.
Okay, Stuart, stay where you are. Sarah, what do you think of what Stuart's saying? What would Reform UK do about it, if anything?
I think Stuart's absolutely right. Drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, people that basically are anything.
What's wrong with
other
that, Sarah?
white.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it doesn't reflect our society, and I feel that your average white person, average white family is like I agree with you, Stuart, not represented anymore in TV.
There are lots of white people on television, Sarah, are there not? There are lots of white people. There are lots of white men. There are lots of white women.
We're talking about adverts, and how many times do you look at a TV advert and you think there's not a single white person on it? And actually it is. It's something that's happened because, I believe, of the woke liberality that goes on inside, this sort of like in the arty-farty world. When it comes to, northern towns like Runcorn that I represent, it's just not representative of the rest of the country. Might be fine inside the M25, but it's definitely not representative of the rest of the country. And actually, you know what, I'm hearing this more and more. People notice, and people will switch off. It's like the BBC. Who watches Newsnight anymore? Nobody. Probably.
Well, their ratings have gone up actually at Newsnight, Sarah. But it's an interesting one. Listen, thank you.
You know my point. Yeah.
Stuart, quick response from you.
Yeah, I just think that it's not a flippant issue. I'm not saying Sarah said it was flippant or you are, but it's a question of this is going seriously in society where white people and particularly white men are being demonised and I think discriminated against.
Okay.
I agree, and I agree it happens in the jobs market as well. I totally agree.
Very quickly, Sarah.
Yes, well, as somebody who's not within the M25 and, not a member of the liberal or libtard wokerati or arty types, might come back to Sadiq Khan because it's probably his fault. Anyway, that was the particular segment, which you can see. I don't know though. Let's just unpack it slightly because leaving aside the obvious racism, because whenever people complain that there are various things that are being shoved down their throat, what they're not really complaining about is the thing as such. They're complaining about having to see anything that they don't like. It goes back to that kind of white snowflakery thing that I often go on about. Yeah. I don't mind gay people, obviously. I just don't want to ever see them ever in any context at all. And what exactly is Sarah suggesting here? Is she suggesting some sort of quota system? Do we have a quota system, for example, in adverts, which would mean that we only get to see this strict percentage of people there are in society? Because in terms of most adverts, most studies tend to sort of suggest that they represent about 80% white people in them, which is about what, society is. But what Sarah is doing here, of course, is basically banging the drum. It's a big dog whistle, which we'll come back to. But I would like to know if she wants, for example, companies to not represent black people or Asian people, because they sell things to black and Asian people, yeah? The reason why there is, for example, Nando's sell halal meat in lots of places is because their constituency, their client base, is going to involve a lot of people that are going to want that. She comes back to that in a second. We'll come on to that. But inherently, it's a nonsensical argument. It's simply her dog whistling her way through the idea of, I just don't really want to see black people. Well, don't then. Don't watch TV. There you go. Yeah, I don't really want to watch endless Star Wars reboots. And do you know what I do? I don't watch them. Yay! But the rest of the segment is also interesting, because in this half hour that she's just given from Talk TV, they also do Robert Jenrick, by the way. He's got a monthly half-hour slot whereby he can say about how you need to vote for him as the leader. And it's the equal soft soap in terms of Peter Caldwell does basically push back a little bit here, you notice, about Newsnight, because she's just talking rubbish, isn't she? Yes, that isn't the case, and it's the same with adverts. It's not the case, and it's the same with lots of other things that she's discussing here, and he just gently pushes back without any real sort of journalistic shove to it. But never mind that. She is given this half hour. The callers, all of them, and link down below, you can watch the whole thing, all of the callers are very staunch reform supporters. So there's no representation whatsoever. This is a bunch of people that agree with Sarah ringing in to get Sarah to agree with them. Ooh, that's British media for you, isn't it? Yes. And there are other things as well that she says. Let's dive into another segment. Let's just have a quick look at this, because this is really, for me, the nub of the matter in terms of this is the nastiness of what she's saying. Let's have a look at this
in a second, but we just see on our screens now that Lucy Powell has been named Labour's deputy leader. Your reaction, Sarah?
Well, Lucy Powell, to me, is the one. What I remember about Lucy Powell is she's the woman that said, accused, I can't remember which shadow minister of gaslighting and not that old thing again when we were talking about the grooming gang scandal.
Yeah, she said that dog whistle. That dog whistle is what she said on BBC's Any Questions. That's right.
You know, she should be utterly ashamed of herself. We've got this whole grooming gang issue at the moment where the government have been incapable of starting this inquiry. They're betraying day by day victims of these grooming gangs. And let us be in no doubt, these grooming gangs are still operating. And as for Sadiq Khan in London and his utter denial that there was ever any problem of grooming gangs in London, what do we now hear? Potentially 9,000 people on a list that need to be investigated. I mean, utter betrayal of women in London.
We can now hear what...
Yeah, politicians playing the race card. Dreadful. Letting us all down, aren't they? Especially the women and girls. Especially the women and girls being touched by the wrong people. Yeah, you notice all the usual targets, got to get in London, got to get in Sadiq Khan, got to get in brown people, got to have their funny food habits, got to have sexual predation. It's all in there. Nothing else, no other policies. And when she actually is asked on some other policies, she is completely stumped. You see, somebody rings in to ask about halal food. Ooh. But they also, unfortunately, mention kosher food. Oh, which means that Sarah, against the wishes of our glorious or her glorious leader, has to and ah about it. Well, there are other things that we should really be doing. And Peter says, well, you could do more than one thing. No, we can't actually ban anything to do with the Jewish community, even though it's identical issue. Yes, so Robert Jenrick himself will ban the burqa. Very, very good idea. And presumably ban other things to do with Muslim people. But by God, it doesn't look racist, doesn't it? But in essence, this is the thing. These are half hours with no journalistic quality whatsoever, where somebody of, well, not enormous brain, let's face it, she's not much of a media star, is just allowed to give a platform with no real substantive issues to it other than, yeah, we are the racist party, and by God we'll do something seriously racist when we get in. Don't have any other policies that we really care to mention, though, because that might frighten you off somewhat. You're kind of keen on the NHS, but we're not. You're kind of keen on the idea that maybe, if we can sell you this stupid idea that getting rid of migrants is actually going to work, that your lives will be better. But that's not what we're involved in. What we're going to do is, pump things at you, shove them down your throat, one might say, in notions of pure, unadulterated racism. And that way you'll vote for us. And maybe we can just keep the whole thing running for a bit longer. I don't know, it's just sickening that this is where British media is at. Yesterday on the Sundays, a Conservative politician was asked about this, and he refused to say whether or not it was racist. It's racist, okay? Reform are a racist party. The Conservatives increasingly are a racist party. And unfortunately for us, most of the other parties are prepared to get, particularly the Labour Party, are prepared to get dragged down the same route as well. The only way you address this is to attack the whole thing. We shouldn't have media rules that allow racists to come on and simply spout racism with no pushback. But that's what we have. After all, you wouldn't want the Telegraph being sold to some nefarious outside interests, would you? Anyway, do have a lovely day if you can do, and remember, if you don't want to watch something, just don't watch it. You're an adult. You're an adult. You can actually manage that. Okay, you can manage to live in a world where there are people that are brown, and you can manage to live in a world where there are people that are gay. All right? Yeah, you might not like it, but suck it up, for God's sake. I'll whinge to Sarah. Have a lovely day if you can do.